Class is back in session as students return to campus for another semester during the COVID-19 pandemic. Coming up, we'll have the latest stats from Lubbock and Texas Tech, as well as a look at some changes that are making this one of the most unusual spring semesters in university history.
February is Black History Month, but before the celebration even began, the university took time to recognize an important figure in African American history. MCTV's Krizia Williams has the details on how the university celebrated the life and legacy of Martin Luther King, Jr.
And both men's and women's basketball teams have been making headlines since their seasons kicked off last year. But how are the Red Raiders and Lady Raiders faring in 2021? MCTV's Austin Seat has the scores and highlights from each team's latest matchup in sports.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Monday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Krizia Williams.
And I'm Patricia Perry.
The spring 2021 semester is underway with few changes around campus from the fall. COVID-19 continues to be a concern here at Texas Tech and in the Lubbock community, but there's been some positive developments since classes started last month. As of last Friday, the Texas Tech campus has reported a combined total of 120 new cases of the coronavirus since employees reported back to work on January 4th. Currently, there are only 59 active cases of COVID-19 in the Tech community, with 10 new cases reported on Friday afternoon. During the first week of school, the campus reported 49 new active cases of COVID-19, and last week there were only 50 new infections. There is a drastic change from the first 2 weeks of the fall semester when the university announced more than 600 new cases in just 14 days. Free on-campus testing has resumed this semester, but there is a new location for students, faculty, and staff to get swabbed for the coronavirus. Tech's COVID-19 testing location can now be found at 2533 15th Street at the southeast corner of the intersection of 15th and Akron, across from the sub. Like last semester, testing will be available Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., except for campus holidays. Appointments are not required, but you will need a mask and social distancing will be observed. For much more information on the university's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, just visit emergency.ttu.edu and click on coronavirus.
The city of Lubbock has also seen some huge improvements in the local coronavirus situation since classes last met back in November. Since late November, the number of reported cases in Lubbock County has dropped from close to 500 cases per day to around 100 per day last week. In fact, on Sunday, January 23rd, city officials reported only 61 new infections, which was the lowest number of positive tests announced since the beginning of October. But perhaps the biggest change in Lubbock's COVID-19 statistics is the city's hospitalization rate. In the beginning of December, the rate climbed over 30%, but since then that number has been in decline, dropping to just over 10% last Friday. Along with Friday's hospitalization rate, Lubbock has now reported 6 consecutive days under 15%, which is only 1 day shy of the state's mandated 7 consecutive day requirement for Lubbock County to officially return to previous restrictions that were implemented as part of Governor Greg Abbott's plan to reopen Texas. If the city remains under the 15% hospitalization rate today, certain businesses like restaurants could return to 75% occupancy, bars could reopen, and elective surgeries could resume this week. The changes could also possibly include the lifting of current city and campus mandates that restrict outdoor gatherings and events to 10 people or less.
Back in the fall, before the COVID-19 pandemic hit its peak here in Lubbock, Texas Tech officials formally made the decision to reduce spring break to a one-day holiday, essentially canceling the traditional mid-semester vacation for students, faculty, and staff. The change came after many other universities around the United States made the same tough decision after experts predicted that the COVID-19 pandemic would continue well into the new year. But after reevaluating the schedule, the university has now decided to offer an alternative to the week-long holiday in the form of a few extra days off before the semester ends in May. Patricia has been following this story and has more. Patricia?
That's right, Krizia. Texas Tech's President Lawrence Skuvanek announced on January 11th 3 student wellness days that would be put in place due to the feedback from students after spring break was taken away. I got the chance to talk to some students about their concerns of how this could affect their spring semester. Sophomore acting major Holden Jacola talks about the impact the change in breaks had on students working on campus.
Technically a CA on campus over in Wall. We had been told that we were going to come back on the 6th originally before they had taken away the spring break. And then they were like, okay, they took away our spring break, you guys come back on the 10th, which kind of made sense just on the matter of fact of them saying, okay, well, we're taking away your spring break. We're still giving you that Friday, so that's 4 days. So they basically added 4 days to our not our spring break, but our winter break. Which is fine, but all the other students had the opportunity to still have like another week on top of that. Because everybody else was coming back like a week after the 6th. So they still had that extra week. So they basically got like 2 extra weeks, and we got like a few extra days on our break. So it kind of sucked.
Students like Aaron Hester are glad we got some form of a break to get rest, but don't feel it'll be as beneficial as a week-long spring break.
At least it gave us something to do, as in something to do, I mean something to like relax and just take our minds off of everything. But the professors are still going to be assigning stuff during that whole 3-day weekend that they gave us.
A lot of students live far away and would have used spring break to go see their families. Tyler Cuchetta said he has lost some opportunities to see his family this semester.
Yeah, we do have those 3-day weekends, but we still have tests we got to study for. So that week-long break. So I have homework to do, and I live 10 hours away, so there's no point in me going home, and having to come straight back over a 3-day span. So.
This semester's spring break was reduced to 1 day, March 19th. The additional Student Wellness Day will be on February 26th, along with no classes on April 6th. Back to you, Krizia.
Thanks, Patricia. In other campus news, the Texas Tech Police Department sent out a crime alert notification over the weekend. On Saturday, the Tech community was informed of a possible stalking incident involving a female student who was followed on foot by an unknown male from Talkington Hall to the parking lot before both she and the alleged stalker got into separate vehicles. The unknown male then followed the student's vehicle off campus until contact was lost. Although there have been no updates to the story, TTU PD is using the incident as a reminder to students to contact the on-campus police department anytime they fear for their safety. Anyone requesting assistance while on campus can contact the Texas Tech Police Department by calling 806-742-3931 or simply dialing 911. The campus also has multiple emergency blue phones located throughout campus, and TTU PD can be contacted by simply pressing the button to activate the phone. And like with this weekend's incident, you can always report suspicious activity or any other non-emergency requests at any time by calling 742-3931.
The end of the first full week of the new semester was capped off by some very spring-like conditions, even though it's still technically winter here on the South Plains. On Saturday, the Lubbock area experienced a classic West Texas dust storm with wind speeds averaging 23 miles per hour and gusts as high as 60 miles per hour. The windy conditions decreased dramatically yesterday, but can we expect any more spring-like weather as we head into the first week of February? MCTV's Madison Hartin joins us in the studio with the latest look at the forecast. Madison?
Thanks, Patricia. Well, despite being still winter here on the South Plains, we have been experiencing some spring-like conditions over the last few days. And one of those spring-like conditions was that dust storm. Those are pretty common here on the South Plains, especially as we start to move into the later spring, as sort of the warmer fronts start to move into our area, and that was no exception. For the next couple days, we're going to be seeing these more spring-like conditions, but they will be returning back to winter conditions in the next few days. For today, however, our high temperature climbed up to 60 degrees with mostly sunny and mild conditions and a wind coming from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour, a lot more manageable than 40 mile per hour wind gusts that we experienced on Saturday. For this evening, the wind is going to continue to come from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour, but the temperature is going to drop back down to 39 degrees with partly cloudy and cold conditions. That seems to be a pattern here on the South Plains for the next few days. Cooler conditions as we move into the evening once the sun starts to go down, but by mid-afternoon we should be experiencing a lot warmer temperatures, and the next few days are no exception to this. For tonight, Lubbock is going to be experiencing a low temperature of about 38, but out there a little bit west of us, out by Muleshoe and Morton, we're going to be experiencing things a little bit closer to the lower 30s, just at freezing out there by Muleshoe. But for tomorrow, as the sun starts to creep out from around the West Texas horizon, we're going to see temperatures climb back up into the 60s and 70s for the South Plains, but again dropping back down into the 30s and 40s as we move into Tuesday evening. So that's going to be the pattern for the next couple days. Just make sure if you're going out after dark, you're bringing a jacket with you. Bringing it back into Lubbock locally now, we can see for the next couple days for Tuesday, the sun will be out, so our high is going to be 75 degrees, a low of 43, and a southwesterly wind coming at 10 to 20 miles per hour. For Wednesday, we're going to see a couple clouds start to move through the area, with a northwesterly wind coming at 15 to 25 miles per hour, but a high of 79 and a low of 51, so we won't be missing the sun all that much. And then for Thursday, we're going to see the temperatures drop back down to a high of only 61 degrees, a low of 30, and a northwesterly wind coming at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Now, by Friday and by this weekend, we should be experiencing temperatures a lot more typical for this time of year, so some cooler conditions, possibly some chances of precipitation. So make sure you check out MCTV Weather on Thursday to see what our weekend weather conditions will be. For MCTV Weather, I'm Madison Hartin. Back to you.
Thanks, Madison. Today is the first day of February, and that also marks the beginning of the annual observance of Black History Month. But before this year's festivities get underway, the Texas Tech community took time to remember one of the African American community's most impactful leaders. Krizia has the details and brings us the story.
With fall semester in full swing, the African American community is gearing up to celebrate and commemorate Black History Month throughout February, starting things off with a cooler just like this one and a community to feed. The Office of Institutional Diversity kicked off the festivities with a tribute to Martin Luther King Jr. by having an event partnering with Meals on Wheels. Corey Powell, Director of Institutional Diversity in the Office of the Vice President, says this event's purpose is to spread a little sunshine and give back to the community.
This is a group of volunteers from the university. Several departments, several student orgs all have come together to try to share a little sunshine and to be servants to our community. And so not just a day on, but a day off is one of the things that the National King organization really tries to import.
Back on campus, with the help of some young minds from Lubbock Independent School District, the Texas Tech Library is hosting an art exhibit reflecting this year's Martin Luther King Week slogan, Celebrating Community.
We contacted the art coordinator and asked her to share the information, opened it to all grade levels, and what we have is like 46, 47 pieces that were submitted, and this display will be up all the way into February for Black History Month. So to reach out to our young people and have them submit something gives me hope, and it's my hope that those who look at it will also gain some encouragement and some strength and some hope for a better tomorrow.
Nefertiti Beck is the Director of Student Intersectional Leadership Council here at Tech, and she says Black history is American history, and the Black community is ingrained in the fabric in the making of this country.
I think it's important to celebrate Black History Month because it provides everyone an opportunity to learn about the contributions of Black and African people, those contributions made to the country, past, present, and future.
So Krizia, the MLK celebration ended last month, but is the university planning any additional events for February?
Yeah, Patricia, even though there have been several changes to scheduling due to COVID, Black History Month will carry on throughout this month. Various groups and departments around campus will commemorate the annual celebration with a mixture of virtual and in-person events. For more information on Black History Month events and activities at Texas Tech, you can visit the website on your screen and watch for announcements on the Black Student Association's social media pages.
Thanks, Krizia. COVID-19 is still having effects on the world of sports, but two Texas Tech teams have been keeping busy as they continue their seasons into the spring semester. MCTV's Austin Seat joins us now with a look at Texas Tech basketball and more in sports. Austin?
Thanks, Patricia. This past week was an interesting week for both Tech athletics as both the men's and women's basketball teams had some notable matchups. Between the Tech games, the NFL Pro Bowl, and the Winter X Games, fans had a lot of action to watch this past weekend. To start off, the Lady Raiders faced number 24 Texas Saturday in Austin. The team fell short, though, as the Longhorns used a second quarter run to quell the Lady Raiders' hopes of a sweep in the season series. The two teams battled hard in the first quarter, going blow for blow with Texas is leading 18-15 after the opening frame. The battle continued well into the second quarter, with Tech outscoring the Longhorns in the opening 3.5 minutes of the period to cut the deficit to 1. However, a 19-0 Texas run in the second quarter gave the Longhorns a 40-20 lead with 2 minutes and change to go before halftime, giving Texas a lead of 43-23 at the break. But the Lady Raiders would not throw in the towel, opening the second half on an 8-2 run led by 4 points from Krizia Williams to trim the deficit to 14. The Lady Raiders, in fact, outscored the Longhorns in the second half, but couldn't quite claw back into it. The Lady Raiders were led by Vivian Gray and Maka Jackson, who each scored 12 points. Gray came up a rebound shy of her third straight double-double, also recording 2 steals and 4 blocks to tie a career high. Freshman Krizia Williams and Kyla Wade-Warren both provided important minutes against Texas's standout Charlie Collier, both adding 6 points. The Lady Raiders will return to the USA to host Kansas State on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Over on the men's side, the Red Raiders traveled down to Louisiana this past Saturday to face off against the LSU Tigers in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. The beginning of the game started off very strong for both teams, going back and forth with the lead. LSU looked dominant during the first half as they maintained a lead over Tech and well into halftime with a score of 33-32. That show of dominance continued in the second half as LSU went on multiple hot streaks, sometimes extending their lead to as many as 7 points. However, Tech did not surrender. Down 7 with a minute to play, Texas Tech went on a 12-0 run to earn a 76-71 win over LSU in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Mac McClung started the comeback with a 3-pointer with 59 seconds on the clock to cut it down to within 1, and another 3-pointer with 31 seconds left to play. Terrence Shannon also came up with a steal and a layup to give Tech a 72-71 lead with 23 seconds remaining. Shannon then hit 4 straight free throws to close it out for the Red Raiders. Tech now improves their record to 12-5 as they return to Big 12 play against Oklahoma at 8 p.m. tonight at the United Supermarkets Arena. The Red Raiders did earn a 69-67 win over the Sooners back on December 22nd in Norman and are hoping for a chance at sweeping the Sooners this season. Also occurring this past weekend was the 2021 Winter X Games event in Aspen, Colorado. Due to COVID restrictions, the games decided that only the finals would take place and that only a select number of athletes could participate. Despite these conditions, competitors still put on a show for everyone watching at home. In snowboarding on the women's side, you had Jamie Anderson, who won gold in both slopestyle and big air, giving her a total of 19 medals and making her the second most winningest Winter X Games athlete. Only 1 medal behind Canadian snowboarder Mark McMorris, who did not compete this weekend due to a positive COVID-19 test. Anderson also competed in snowboard knuckle huck, making her the only woman snowboarder to compete in that contest. Meanwhile, in the super pipe, 5-time gold medalist and Olympic gold medalist Chloe Kim made her return to the pipe after taking a year off to go to school at Princeton University. She did not disappoint as Kim landed a perfect run on her second attempt to push her into first place and resulting in her 6th career gold medal. Her fellow competitor, Maddie Mastro, tried to retaliate but could only get the silver. Meanwhile, on the men's side, you had an X Games rookie take home a gold in both the knuckle huck and in slopestyle. 17-year-old Dusty Hendrickson took home the gold in both events in his first X Games appearance. He is also the first American to win slopestyle in 12 years. Meanwhile, in superpipe, snowboarder legend Shaun White pulled out of the contest with a knee injury in practice, while Japanese rider Yuto Tatsuka outdueled Scotty James for his first X Games Aspen gold medal on Sunday night in the men's snowboard superpipe contest. Then, just hours later, Norwegian rider Marcus Cleveland wins big air gold with a quad cork 1800 and a cab flat spin 1800 to end the 3-day historical event for snowboarding. Well, that's all for sports. Back to you, Krizia.
Thanks, Austin. As we mentioned earlier, the spring semester doesn't look much different here on campus as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to be a factor. And much like the fall, most student events are being held virtually to keep everyone safe. But as MCTV's Anakin Rios shows us, one TTU organization came together last week to kick off the year with some in-person fun.
Thanks, guys. Well, I'm here at the Animal Food and Science building here at Texas Tech, where the Hispanic Student Society is hosting a game night for returning students to reconnect in person in a safe and interactive way. After an extended winter break for Tech students, returning students have come to find many organizations on campus are having events take place virtually, while the Hispanic Student Society held this game night event as a way to get students to interact in person, as well as learn more about the Hispanic Student Society as a whole.
We wanted to start off the semester with the game night just to get everybody involved and get to meet new people and stuff, and get to meet like us officers and like I guess get a little bit more info of what the Hispanic Student Society is about.
While the COVID-19 threat is still a burden to many, the HSS switched the traditional board game approach to a more modern style of board game activity, emphasizing keeping COVID-19 guidelines in mind.
So yeah, so there's no like touching board games, there's no touching cards or anything like that. Like everything's like just yourself, and then we'll space everybody out.
The Hispanic Student Society is also always looking for new members to join, open to all cultures and individuals alike.
Even though we are Hispanic Student Society, we are open to everybody. You don't have to be Hispanic to join. And then we also just try to be as personal as possible. You know, we don't try to be inclusive, and we just accept everybody.
If you're interested in learning more about the Hispanic Student Society, you can visit their website at ttuhss.net and also visit their Facebook page to see upcoming events that are taking place here on campus. For MCTV News, I'm Anakin Rios. Back to you guys.
So Patricia, have you had a good start to your spring semester?
You know, Krizia, I can't complain so far. I've got everything figured out. I finally feel like my classes are going well. What about you, Krizia?
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you on Thursday.